Each year we choose a replay. 2020's replay for Thanksgiving. It seems appropriate for us to go back to our 2020 predictions because we were so unaware about what was about to happen to us. Let's hear what we thought back then. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and be safe and take care. Thanks for listening.
He goes to start showing me around the office, and I walk over to his computer, and the username and password is taped to the monitor. And I was like, you could probably start by taking that down.
What did he say?
He was like, oh, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
This is Nalia from Georgia Spine and Orthopedic in Tucker, and you're listening to Help Me with HIPAA podcast.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs and Security First IT. And joining me is Donna Grindle of Carden. Happy New Year, Donna Grindle.
No, 2020.
I know.
We have perfect vision.
That brings us to our topic for today, which is our 2020 predictions.
Ooh, well, I say sort of.
Yeah. No, we're always right, so.
You will find a way to claim it. We'll go with that. But, I'm just happy 2020's here. And
you're just happy you made it that long?
Yeah. I'm like, wow. Well, I mean, when I was younger, there was questions on that.
Yeah. How many people told you won't make it past 30?
More than one.
That's what I figured.
But then I said, look, if I do, I'm not going to have any regrets. I'm not going to say I wish I did.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah. So, that being said, don't have any regrets. We're going over the edge with predictions now.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that you don't regret starting the podcast with me, that's something you've never said before.
Moving on to another topic. Let's get, this is our first recording we're doing in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If you didn't see, it cracks me up that Barbara Walters, the Saturday Night Live cast member that always, did the spoofs on Barbara Walters years ago, where she would go, "This is 2020." She was on the CNN thing with Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper, and she did this whole rant that was hysterical, and every now and then would turn to the camera and go, "This is 2020." I haven't gotten it out of my head. It may never leave. But we do have boot camp coming because this is 2020.
Mm-hmm.
For our spring boot camp. We'd love for you to join us. We got people signing up already. People wanted to put it in, last year, pay for it.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Yeah, and I was like, hey. So it's good to see, and we've gotten some folks that'll be, they've gotten it budgeted, and as soon as everything clears for the year. So, we've got several it's going to be interesting already, I can assure you, based on the people that have signed up, just on the ones that I know are coming.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely get your information at the HIPAA Boot Camp.com. If you don't need information, you just know you want to sign up, there's a button right on the show notes. You just click that button. It takes you right to the sign up page. Bring it. Looking forward to seeing you.
Yep. That'll be in March.
Yes. March
24, 25, 26.
Thank you. This one's in Georgia. I am having some phone calls next week to discuss a potential location in the other half of the country.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to get some people to working with us. There's some people that are interested in working with us on it. So anyway, hopefully we'll have news on that for a fall event.
Nice. Have HIPAA will travel.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
So we do have a a task to throw out to everybody.
A task.
A task. So you have a task. You have one thing.
You got one job, David. You had one job.
You got one job, which is to share out this podcast with one person this week.
Yes.
That is your one job.
Yeah. That's all you have to do. One person. Yep. That's going to be our thing. If you don't want to review us and put information out there, at least tell somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
And this brings us to those who have went above and beyond.
Yes, indeed.
So shout out to Jane Quaid.
Yes. Jane sent us a note saying that she heard a few months back that we were talking about having a page, listening to all the podcasts and the notes, kind of summarizing and making it easy for you to do all of that. And we're like, we're too busy.
Yeah.
We have some, ability to do stuff, but come on, this is free. So, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
But that being said, she is volunteering to do that. And, and then tells us her qualifications. You know what? If you're a volunteer, great. But if you've got these qualifications, we may not deserve you. Remember, we cannot pay you. Oh, but she did end with, by the way, I love the podcast. You two are a hoot.
Yeah.
So, but she's in the Cleveland, Ohio area. So we're going to be talking to her about doing the list. If you're interested in joining in, we should have a little plan together soon. So let us know.
Yep. And
Jane,
if you think we're a hoot on the podcast, you should come to the unedited version called the Boot Camp.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we got some folks that did get to enjoy the unedited version of us, and we're the same. They do not see us as anything different than what we are. Not lying. All right, and our new donor button is working.
Yay! Thank you, George Fenton and Ken.
Ken,
unless it's Ken Note, I'm not sure.
No. Jeez. Well, Kenneth Sims. He puts his name in there, Kenneth Sims, but his email is Ken Sims, and he signs Ken. So I'm going to assume we can call him Ken because we're friends.
Yeah. Well, he said this is Kenneth Sims, not Ken to David Sims.
Yes, he did. I am like, non-related to David Sims.
Yeah. You almost put that out there. Like, I don't know this dude. I am not related to him.
Yes, both he and George were Patreon donors. And once we shut that down and moved over to our new donor site, which we can better manage because it rolls into what we're already doing, they both moved over to it, and we appreciate those guys. And, we just saw Ken's name out there. We didn't know anything, but he sends a fun note that says, I'm not in the medical field. I actually teach information systems at the University of the Cumberlands in Williamsburg, Kentucky, and do a little consulting on the side. No BAAs, signed to date. Even though your podcast focuses on HIPAA, I find the general IT security info that you give well worth my time and use examples from my podcast from your podcast in my classes almost every semester.
Sweet. So
another shout out for the note that thanked us for the shout out. But what do you mean almost every semester? I mean, surely that you should be able to figure it out every single semester. Maybe you make a class where every week you discuss the details of a podcast episode. So
that's a good way not to have stuff to prepare for, right?
That's right. David lives off me doing it. Why don't you?
Exactly. No sense in me doing all the work.
Yeah. So thanks for your support, and glad to know that even if you don't have to do HIPAA, you do find it helpful. We keep talking about changing the name of podcasts, and if y'all got any good ideas about what would be a better name than Help Me with HIPAA,
How about
Yeah.
help me with HIPAA and cybersecurity and other stuff?
Well, that's where we always come back to help me with everything.
Yeah. Help me with everything.com. That could lend itself to a whole new thing.
I know. I got questions.com. Just go with that.
Yeah. Just, I don't know, though. Some of the questions we get sometimes, I don't know. We talked about some of those before we hit record today.
Yeah, we did. Let's get on to things.
Luckily, it was your question, not mine.
Wasn't my question. It just dropped in my lap.
Yeah.
All right.
Anywho,
Mm-hmm.
so you about ready to get into our predictions?
I am.
Because I have my crystal ball polished up, got my little smoke machine going.
Tarot cards out, the
Yeah.
runes laying out.
Black lights going, the whole 9 yards. I'm ready.
All right.
All right. So before we get into that, let's hear a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 83% of healthcare organizations report a strong negative impact to their bottom line after a data breach? So many doctors think that they're HIPAA compliant and have nothing to worry about. Many of those organizations thought the same thing before it happened to them. Call Carden today at 678-292-5001 so they can assess your practice and help ensure you are protected and prepared. Visit cardenhq.com to learn more.
Cybercrime is a multi-billion-dollar industry and growing. How confident are you that your computer network can withstand a cyber attack? Can you afford to take the chance that what you have today will protect you? Call us and find out if the cybersecurity in your business is something you should be concerned about, or if you can rest easy knowing your business is protected. Visit us online at securityfirstit.com. That's securityfirstit.com and schedule a time to talk.
All right, we're back. Here
Yay!
we go. Here we go.
I love how you say we're back, but they just listen to our voices. But I'm just going to let that go.
Yeah, we might
All
change that. Maybe we should do a live reading. Kind of like the tarot cards. Ha! Anyway.
Jeez, here we go. All right, so we've got 8 predictions. The first 2, we made list and we agreed on 6, and of course David has to throw in some.
Well, I want
Our
to.
biggest fail of last year was the one you had to add in. I'm just saying.
Well, I wanted some. I want to go out there and say, look, there's some that you can kind of look at and go, yeah. I mean, anybody can predict that. You can see it pretty easily. But I want to try to stretch my goals here. And I want to see if I can come up with 1 or 2 that, it's a stretch. It might happen, might not. But, go out on a limb here. I don't mind.
Yeah. So you developed your own long shot, and now you're betting everything on it. All right.
Yep. So as you would say,
stuff.
yeah, as you would say, this is a swag.
Scientific wild her, I guess.
Arse.
$8.
There you go. So my first one is that AI and deep fakes will start to become a bigger cybersecurity problem. And I think if you look into what this is and does, the whole deep fakes thing, I didn't really get how it could become a cybersecurity issue until I listened to a recent podcast where it talked about how easy it is now for anybody to take free software that's out there and available and literally take videos and make it look like somebody else in the video, or make it sound like the person that's, in there and talking and all that. And so as I listen to all that, I'm still going, well, I don't get how videos are going to be a cybersecurity issue until you start thinking about how we might be able to take AI and deep fakes. And then as people are creating these business email compromise things, we could have a way for this AI to know exactly how somebody is going to respond to something, and possibly even say, give me a call and let me verify this. And whatever number they call could even sound like this person, depending on what's already out there. Now, this is probably not going to be something that's a big problem for a small business, but I do think we're going to start seeing the bigger businesses and the more public businesses. This is going to be an issue. So that is one of my predictions for 2020. My stretch prediction.
All right, Elroy.
And then my second stretch prediction will be that 5G, as it's being rolled out everywhere because of its security issues and distributed network stuff and all this other craziness, we might actually see a public disclosure of a data breach caused by a mobile device.
And that's probably happening. And 5G is supposed to change how we do things, just like the internet changed how we do things. But now we move at such a faster pace, 5G will really impact things quickly. The problem I see is that you watch every other commercial is one of the phone companies saying that they've got, the mobile providers. We've got 5G, the fastest 5G. We got the biggest 5G. We're better than everybody else, 5G.
Yeah.
Okay, but those 5Gs aren't the real 5Gs. There's always a little, asterisk somewhere.
It's the 5 little g, not the 5 capital G.
Yeah, and, and it's how are you building it and what framework are you building it on? And we're building it on the fastest one. But when you're a technical person and you get into the details, they're very different. And you don't have devices that are using it fully. And once it does light up, we're going to learn a lot of interesting stuff. But, is it going to solve the problem of people that have horrible cell signal at their house? That's still, I got 5G until I walk into the bedroom. Then I got 0G. But anyway, yeah, I am uncertain of the impact of 5G because I am uncertain when we will see real 5G that's being used.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So that's going to bring us into our more certain predictions.
Mine.
I wouldn't.
These are the ones where you agreed.
Yeah. Well, as we had our separate list, there's several of these. Let's see. We had, I guess, 6. You had 6 total, and I think of your 6, I had 4 that's very similar. Mm-hmm. And so we just kind of merged them all together. So you had a couple in here that I didn't have, but for the most part, they were the same. Which is, as you said, it's amazing that you do all the research, and yet I pull things out of the ether.
Rear end.
And they're somewhat similar.
Same thing. Yes. I actually put, references to information as to back up why I think things instead of just, writing it down and saying, moving on. We could just read David's list and have a 5-minute podcast.
Hey, look, if I say it, that's all you need to know.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. A lot of big settlements going to make the news, and OCR enforcements will tear it up between now and the election.
Yeah. Yeah, because, once the election happens, there's going to be chaos no matter what happens in the election. But there are so many things that are so close, and there's so many things working through the courts that in like Christmas Eve, the Georgia Supreme Court ruled that the lawsuit by the patients against Athens Orthopedic can come back in. There's all kinds of stuff that's actively happening, and then the holidays kind of paused it. But I expect to see a pretty busy February and March from OCR and even some of the states, or, those kind of things where enforcement's going to pick up. It's not that enforcement slowed down. It's just they can't tell us all about it yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But let me just say that you better, if you haven't taken the time to evaluate your patient access policies and procedures and really work with the people that are in charge of medical records and dealing with the patient's request, you better get on it today.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're on it. They're on that. They're watching for complaints being filed about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if they're going to continue that into 2020 or they're going to make a shift into.
Oh, no, they're going to continue it because, it's an initiative and it takes a lot to get that steam rolling. It is not easy to do. People always like, well, why don't they just do blah, 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 blah. You can't just do anything. It's just like me saying, David, why don't you secure my network? Well, why don't they just, fine everybody $1 million? They can't. They have to do an investigation. They have to negotiate. They have to discuss things. They have to get paperwork and review it. And, there's a limited amount of resources and a vast amount of enforcement going on. So that's why we don't see as much. But, we're going to see some BAs in there. So
oh, yeah.
We're going to see some BAs soon, I'm expecting. What about, you think?
Yeah. I shouldn't even say it this way, but I'm hoping to see an IT company in there.
I know. It's that Schadenfreude.
Yeah. So, it's not that I wish anything bad on anybody. It's more of, look, I want to hear what happened, how it happened, and what's the response to that.
Yeah.
Because
you don't have that need for Schadenfreude. You just you need something to point to for all the people that keep telling you you're wrong.
Well, and it's not that. I'm tired of seeing, even yesterday I was on Reddit and somebody says something about HIPAA and we're talking about IT and all that. And sure enough, there's a handful of people that post, oh, all it is just best practices. Oh, all it is just securing your network. Oh, all it is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man. If you don't know, don't respond to the thread. Just shut your mouth.
Well, the problem is people think they know.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not that they don't know and they believe they don't know. They believe they know everything.
It's funny because some of them will actually start out with, I am not sure, but. I'm like, well, why are you even responding if you're not sure?
And I think, we're going to get into MSPs a little bit more in a minute. But the other thing is everybody's talking about, the California Consumer Protection Act, or I think that's what CCPA stands for.
Yep.
It's effective now. And, so now everybody's just, it's essentially our first GDPR.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be interesting to see, as Dave Benton on the Cyberware podcast says, you may not be interested in California, but California is interested in you.
Mm-hmm.
They're paying attention to a whole lot of new things, but they've said, enforcement isn't going to happen until the last half of this year. And we know how long enforcement takes.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see a lot of action from that. We're going to see a lot of discussion about that. And we're going to see some of the other states. You got New York and Texas and Nevada, whoever it is you're talking to. There are a lot of new rules that have recently gone into effect. And we're going to see that enforcement. I think it's going to pick up a great deal in the first, I think from March till about October. There'll be a good bit of activity, maybe sooner.
Yeah.
But that's my thought.
Yeah, well, people need to pay attention to what their states are doing anyway. Because it's shocking how many people I talk to, and I'll say something like, yeah, the breach notification laws for South Carolina or for North Carolina say this. And they're like, what? Breach notification laws for the state? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people don't realize that there's some state things happening, and you have to keep up with those too.
Yeah, and enforcement effort is what's going to get that news out too. So that's number 3.
Number 3. All right, number 4. So this is one we both agree on, which is new authentication methods will be tested, but no one solution will become the go-to just yet. So yes, passwords will be a-changing.
Yeah, passwords are no longer enough. That's just what we've been doing isn't working.
Yeah.
and even really long stuff. The brute force attacks, the sheer speed of computers able to bang away at try new things to log in.
Yeah. Well, we're still having people, using the common passwords just all the time.
I know. Password 123 is still number one.
It's still number one. I mean, I bang my head literally on the desk.
I know. Every time they publish a list. It's not like they're making this up and guessing. They're pulling data that's been published from these data breaches with the passwords and doing a simple statistical analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how many of, show me the top 10.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
I love it when people go, I wish they would just do something about these people and ransomware and breaches. I wish they'd do something about it. And I'm like, dude, it starts with you. Your crappy password doesn't help matters any.
I know that. And your complete sharing of everything. So it's easy for them to even, get around your password. Forgot password. What's your secret question? Well, it's on my Facebook page for everybody to see. I mean, it is the authentication issue has to be addressed. And it goes back to security rule number 1. Security is not convenient.
True.
And even the 2FA. I mean, they're working on ways and they are finding ways to get around it. Now, it takes more effort and they have to do certain things, but they're finding ways to get around it. And don't think that, that's like we say, if you do it now, you're just faster than the other guy running from the bear.
Yeah. Yeah. My recommendation is 2FA everything.
Yeah. If you can, you should do it. And, the other tools where it's about something and something you have. Something and something you have. So that, you can authenticate. But
it just reminds me of I went and talked to a prospect last week, and they got a little small network, and we're sitting there talking, and he's like, look, security is something I'm real concerned about. And, right now we're not doing anything. We don't have IT support or anything like that. We just call people as we need them. And I want to make sure that we are secure. And I'm like, well, great. The fact that you want it is good. And so he goes to start showing me around the office, and I walk over to this computer, and the username and password is taped to the monitor. And I was like, you could probably start by taking that down.
What did he say?
He was like, oh yeah, that's not good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, I told y'all she was coming to take this stuff down.
It's like, look, I want you to hire me, but you don't have to hire me to do this part.
Yeah,
you could just take it off the monitor.
Yeah. Just walk. That's why people are like, aren't you going to, when we do our first assessment, are you going to come do the physical walkthrough? I said, I can, and I can charge you for it. But I bet you anything, if I gave you a list of things to check and you just walk through on your own, you'll save money because you can fix plenty on your own and then have me come.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem is that this stuff is so in front of them all the time, they actually don't even see it anymore.
Yep. That's why even when we say when you're doing security posters, change them up, turn them sideways, turn them upside down, make them different because you stop looking.
Yeah. Just move offices. Just don't even tell people.
So, but we're going to see more things. I love my gatekeeper little thing.
Yep.
I love the fact that I just pick it up at the bottom of the stairs and take it to my office, and I have a much easier way to get into all of my stuff because we've talked about how paranoid we are.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep testing out some of the new stuff they've got coming out, and they're always adapting, got some new things. So I really like their stuff. And then LastPass, their LastPass identity solution.
Saw that.
Yeah, we're going to be looking into it. The team doesn't know it yet, but we're going to be looking into it.
Yeah, you got that. You got, Google came out with the Titan key. So
but again, until something kind of narrows down, we're not going to know there's just got to be more. You can't just walk around with password anymore. Or
Yeah.
can I write it in my book I keep in my purse? And then your favorite part of authentication methods that absolutely has to change.
Which is?
No more admin defaults on devices. No more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That one. Yeah. Well, that's going to be a harder thing because if you go from a manufacturer standpoint, if I say you've got to have a different username and password for every device that rolls off your assembly line.
Yeah, but a lot of them they're handling it because California passed a law a while back
I know.
that said, by a certain time you have to do it. And so they're starting to handle it where the password, the username will be maybe admin built in, but you can change it,
Mm-hmm.
which is important. Change admin to something else if you can. And then the password is actually printed on the device and it comes with like the serial number or something,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, any device that comes into your network during the entire year of 2020, the first thing you should do is go in and change your default credentials on that thing. It's
Step one.
Yeah. I mean, we took over a client not long ago, fortunately not healthcare, but their server had, admin credentials on it, their workstations, their website. I'm like, dude.
And don't just say IT takes care of that.
Yeah.
We're about to get to that very important statement.
Yeah. But yeah, change the username and password, man. It just surprising. We have a local ISP and they're running around right now and they're upgrading a lot of their equipment. And so they're going into these businesses and they're saying, look, we're going to put you on another static IP address because we're upgrading our equipment. And I talked to one of the guys. There's only 2 people doing like the entire 3 counties around here. And I talked to one of the guys the other day and he's like 90% of these businesses I walk into, I put in the default credentials for the router and it lets me in. I was like, yeah.
You can't even do that at my house. AT&T folks, what's your password? I ain't telling you.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was like, I can reset it, give you something. We can do it together. No. But authentication, yes. So that's number 4. Number 5.
Number 5, IoT, OT, and IOMT. Whew.
One of them.
Yeah, one of those things, one of those Internet of certain things is going to be a source of a data breach, a healthcare data breach in 2020.
Not just a data breach. I think it's going to be the source of a healthcare data breach. Now, whether it's one that'll be a huge one, that remains to be seen. But shout out to Alex, boom, because he made sure I didn't forget to add this one when he sent Threat Posted an article about, the Alexa, Google Home thing that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
We talk about Alexa and the issues that all of them have with saving what they hear.
Oh, yeah.
And that other people are listening. And then, of course, there's the, quote, HIPAA compliant Alexa, which if you read that detail, listen to that podcast where we go into detail, Amazon never says it's HIPAA compliant. But that's what all the reporting says. But you give it a skill and you can tell that skill to trick and log conversations and do stuff. And there's no vetting on these skills. So you submit the skill and it does it and it starts logging this out there for the vendor to get to. And so, it can hear everything that's going on, not just its own skill. And then even if they recognize it and take it out, this research company threw something out there just to see it was their own skill and only, they were really using it to test it. And they finally did find that it was doing this and they took it out of the store or the list.
Mm-hmm.
They waited a few weeks, submitted again, didn't make a single change. It went right back in, started doing its thing.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, no.
Yeah.
It ain't fixed.
And how many of us got IoT devices for Christmas?
I did not.
I didn't either, but there's a lot of people that did. Matter of fact, the FBI, no, not FBI. It was one of these organizations I watch.
One of the DHS cert.
Yeah,
things, I think.
they came out with a thing the other day. Said, make sure you secure your IoT devices that you got for holidays.
Yep. And millions of people saw that and took action. I'm glad to hear it.
That is the most sarcastic thing you've ever said.
It's up there, I'll have to say. But anyway, I expect what?
I was like, as everybody else nods, I'm like, whatever.
Well, it was there, had to use it. But I do see, whether it's the operational OTs, the operational systems are connected to the internet. So you're looking at heating and air and security system, all of those kinds of things that are running the building.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly heating and air. That is, they're getting into those. Don't think they're not. And then if those are a way in, they get in there, and then they come into the rest of the network. If they get in, all they need is a toe.
Yep.
And they'll find a way. If they can get the toe in the door, they're coming through. So these devices are going to somehow this year, it's going to be something, whether it's a major one or not.
I'll take that back. I actually did get an IoT device for Christmas.
What?
I got a TV with we've got to connect to your Wi-Fi.
Ah.
You can't even use it unless it connects to your Wi-Fi.
I know. That's why, I've finally gotten my network security all laid out and ready to buy my devices. So because of all this, but I didn't get it for Christmas. I bought it on sale at Christmas.
Yeah.
Roku devices. Cause I'm going to cut the cord.
I hear you.
All right. Now we get to the last, the 3, 6, 7, and 8 are all interconnected.
Yep.
Very much so. And number 6 is ransomware.
Oh, yes. It is going to get bad.
We haven't even tipped the iceberg because they've now learned all kinds of new things, and they're making a boatload of money from doing it.
Big shift.
Boatload.
Yeah.
And, it just, before this year, we didn't see the cities being hit.
Yeah. Did you see the city that the ransomware is, people are asking for $1 million?
Yeah. It's just crazy.
$1 million.
Yeah. New Orleans has been hit right in the middle of all the bowl games that are happening there and all this other stuff. So it is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And, MCSoft, I never can pronounce that. EMSI Soft, MCSoft. They're a company that does malware protection, and so right away when they release stuff, I'm thinking, it's going to tell people they need to buy your stuff. But then they're referencing all these other studies and other information, not just stuff from them.
Mm-hmm.
And they released their 2019 ransomware report. It was supposed to come out January 1st. They released it early because it was Pensacola. Everybody heard about the attack, but they're actually not only, hitting ransomware, but they exfiltrated data and posted it out on, they're trying to shame you for not paying. And so they released early, and their statement was that they believe that now that this development's happened, it elevates the ransomware threat to crisis level for governments, and they need to be acting to improve their security immediately.
Mm.
And they updated then on December 23rd and said, that did happen. We are repeating the warning above. The threat level is now extreme to governments, local governments particularly. They must act immediately to improve their preparedness and mitigate their risk. and then they updated the numbers, at the end of the year, but kept the report out. Here's some numbers in that report. At least 966 government agencies have been hit. 966 government agencies, educational establishments, healthcare providers in 2019 alone, in an unprecedented, unrelenting barrage of attacks, which I don't disagree with. Do you?
No.
So they've accounted for 113 state municipal governments and agencies, 764 healthcare providers, and 89 universities, colleges, school districts with operations at up to 1,233 individual schools infected. So, and I bet you anything those numbers are low.
Oh, yeah.
And they pointed out healthcare was the most popular target. That's never happened. And at 764, what do you think? It's at least 1,000 or more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because we're not hearing about all of them.
No, I mean, I know of a few that never nobody ever heard about.
Yeah, and it's great, if you can prove how the thing got loaded, and you can prove when any infiltration occurred, and you can prove there was no exfiltration, it's possible that you didn't need to notify, because you prove that it's reasonable to believe that the data never left. It's reasonable to believe that they weren't in there looking at the data, that somebody loaded the ransomware and launched it, and it all happened within a matter of an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it used to work.
Mm-hmm.
Used to.
Yep. They don't do that anymore.
No.
Now to hang out, drink some coffee.
Yeah. And so these places are getting hit, and we discussed in our episode 200, which I'm sorry, it was a lot of fun for us. We discussed in that episode that there was a ENT practice that just shut down, closed their doors. And in August, there was another one that did the same. Another practice that's announced they just closed their doors. And we don't know what OCR is going to do with those, but we do know that things will likely happen because the patients are left with no records. And now we have that the attackers, we know for a fact that they are going in and stealing data because they do that wall of shame now, their own little wall of shame.
I know.
And so they're before they drop their little ransomware payload, they're pulling data out, exfiltrating data, and then when you don't pay, they publish that on the web. So they're getting you ransomed twice. We're going to ransom your data and not let you access it, but if you choose to restore, we're going to show that we have your data. So now I've got you two ways. And the Maze group announced they were doing it, and they actually started publishing things. And these are gangs now. These are criminal gangs that do the ransomware stuff. We're not talking about individual people.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? What's the one? The Soda. Yeah,
Sodinokibi.
Sodinokibi. Sodinokibi. They have announced they're going to start doing the same thing. So the gangs are going to start publishing it if you don't pay.
Mm-hmm.
The FBI and everybody else says don't pay. We would say don't pay.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do in healthcare? You don't pay, and then they publish it. Where is your liability?
Mm.
It's going to be tricky, and we're going to need some guidance quickly on what to do concerning that. Because if I choose not to pay and the data gets published, am I going to be liable for that? Even though I did everything I could to prevent the ransomware attack, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
But, all it takes is one person making a mistake or a rash decision.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be tricky. And even if you do choose to pay, you don't know if you're going to get the data back. And you don't know that that's going to be the end of your problems.
Nope.
Because we started the year talking about Ryuk, that scary looking anime.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the stick? Like 65% of the time it worked in the original stuff. I think it's gotten better. Clearly, they don't have quality control on the decryption tools like they do.
Yeah, it's like we don't care about the decryption part.
Yeah, that stuff doesn't work necessarily as well as one would think. And even when you get the keys, sometimes they make you pay more to get another one. And then you got to run around decrypting everything and rebuilding everything.
Yeah, I don't think they provide support.
No. No, they do proof of concept. But we do have a case, the sad one, right before Christmas, the Heritage Company, a telemarketing company.
Mm-hmm.
What was you sent me the text that said "Happy freaking Christmas" and the link, and it was sad to read. But how many months was it? They'd been trying. It was like 2 months. The CEO writes a letter saying, "I'm really sorry. It's a family-owned business, and the CEO is the daughter of the person that started it years ago."
Mm-hmm.
And they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
And they closed the doors.
Yeah. It's funny. I know we're going to get into MSPs in a little bit, but I posted that in an MSP thread. And the number of people who were like, "Oh, I call BS on this story. There's something else to it." Well, I'm like, dude, really?
No. Oh, jeez.
It's like, you don't want to believe it. Even the people that are IT folks are out there, not all of them obviously, but some of them are out there going, I'm not sure if this whole ransomware thing's real.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, until they get through one. I mean, the forensics people, when you talk to them, they'll tell you. Why don't you talk to some of them?
Yeah. It's not real until it happens to me.
Mm-hmm. But the big thing is that there's, when you have cases when healthcare's hit, even though you may pay, it takes forever to get back up and running. And this company shut down because they'd spent months trying to get back up and running, and they still weren't after they paid multiple times. But when you do that in healthcare, you got emergency patients that have to be redirected. You got medical records I can't get to or may never see. Surgeries are canceled, tests postponed. They reroute everybody. 911's affected. A boatload of stuff, even like badge scanners and, my ability to get places.
Mm-hmm.
Medication checks, all of that stuff goes down. And in Alabama, we heard about a really bad ransomware attack, and the health system is now being sued. And it's not about identity theft. It's about failing to provide patient care. In a ransomware attack. And it's a federal case. So that one's going to be interesting to watch. But now we get to
the MSPs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's
it's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, if you listen to our Halloween episode, you'll hear us talking about these scenarios, but the MSPs have been under attack since late 2018.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese have been at them, and the FBI knew it, and the FBI's publishing stuff. Ain't nothing happening because Christmas Eve story came out. Synoptic, that's an MSP with 1,100 customers across a broad spectrum of industries, it says, including healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to hear about this. And they got hit. Word on Nerd Street is they've paid a hefty sum, and they're still going to have to, put it back together. And there are a lot of these MSPs that are paying because they have no choice.
Yeah.
Because you don't have staff to go work on every single client all at the same time, do you?
Oh, no, absolutely not. We talk about this in the boot camp. What if something like that happens? You're not going to get very much IT support
No, I mean, you just don't have the people to go around and decrypt and rebuild the networks all at the same time.
No, absolutely
I mean,
not.
you would have to be pulling in all the help you could get
Yeah.
to save your business and your clients' business. So that one remains to be seen. It's a brand new one. But there was another one that's earlier in the month, Colorado IT Complete Technology Solutions, over 100 dentists, among some other folks. And they look gone too. Maybe they've changed their business name. I don't know. You try to find their website. There's like nothing but a header and a footer. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, that tends to be the normal course of action. I've seen other IT companies that for some reason disappear and they pop back up under a new name.
Yeah. And so this was another, because a lot of this stuff we get off of Krebs on security. We love that. We follow it relentlessly. If you don't, you really should. And in the article that Krebs had on the Colorado thing, he interviewed Gary at Black Talon. Shout out to Gary. He's one of our business partners. Yeah. And Gary's explaining, it's a mess. And he's big in the dental and OMS world, and he totally gets that it's a mess. But then if you go read the discussions like you were saying.
Yeah. It's just,
yeah. And there was all this going back and forth on what they should have done or shouldn't have done and how da. But one little tidbit was down in there. And it was from someone who had been taking their clients.
Mm-hmm.
And they did not, they use some alias to post it because they don't want to create any enemies. But they're putting out the information, and this is another one of the problems is once this has happened, people aren't sharing what happened.
Yeah.
So that others can hear it and believe it and do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what they said. They said CTS was compromised by a weak ConnectWise control password and no 2FA enabled. What did we just talk about?
2FA.
To make matters worse, they used the same password for their backup platform, Acronis, and didn't have 2FA at the time, although they seem to have done it now.
It's got to be convenient, right?
Yeah. So the attacker encrypted all their client devices at the same time that they deleted everyone's backups.
Mm-mm.
And another layer, making matters worse, they hadn't uninstalled. This is the one that really gets me. They hadn't uninstalled agents on former clients. So people that had not been using them also got hit. Their backup didn't get deleted, but they got hit with ransomware.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of a
mess.
That's kind of a twofold gotcha because, okay, you could say they didn't uninstall from the former client. Okay. Whether that is because they didn't do it or because for some reason the uninstall scripts didn't run. These people had new IT companies that didn't go in and make sure the old IT company stuff was not uninstalled.
Yeah. So either way,
it's like, it's a double whammy, not, what?
Yeah. So your new MSP has screwed you over too. Don't just blame them. Don't let them just blame the other guys.
Yeah. I mean, really the whole thing for me, the biggest frustration is that it starts this downward spiral where people are going to start losing their trust in the industry, and it's going to be reputational damage to the industry as a whole.
Yeah. You're damaging the reputation of your business, and then you're just changing the name. But in the meantime, the entire MSP industry and those companies are getting black eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because no matter what I do right, if you keep hearing MSP this, MSP that, and I'm known as an MSP, then you're just going to have the same level of skepticism about my service.
No, you know what's going to happen? We're not going to call them MSPs anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we don't use the term, honestly. Most people don't know what it is anyway, so we don't use it. But still, if somebody were to call and say, are you an MSP? Most likely one of my people would be like, yeah.
Well, I mean, but this is, because this is in the news, you're going to see it. But until MSPs, and particularly the little bitty ones.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
That's the Halloween story, was a little bitty one. Multiple small ones. And we, just today, we're looking at another small one. And you could tell by just a few questions and a couple of things on their website, they're nowhere near prepared to handle something like this.
No. I mean, and I would even go so far as to say, don't even put the testimonials of your clients on your website anymore. And this flies in the face of all these marketing guys out there telling you to do this or to put the testimonials there. But think about it. If I go to your website, I can pretty quickly tell who your clients are. Matter of fact, I can probably tell who they are enough to where I know whether or not I want to attack them or not. Mm-hmm. I just don't think that's information that I want to put out there anymore.
So this is a great segue. So ransomware is going to just continue to get worse, and it's going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly the MSPs are going to have the problem where people, you get hundreds of people all at one time impacted. It's a big issue. So be ready, which makes it a great segue into MSPs are just one of those supply chain third-party people. We talked about that in our predictions for 2019. It did come true, but it's going to be even more so. I mean, we're going to get the fallout from the MSPs. Yes, that's one. AMCA breach, that's massive.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see that. And you're already, one of our episodes was talking about extreme vendor vetting is going to happen earlier in 2019. That was one of our episodes because we're listening at these conferences to the security officers talking about how they're doing their vetting. And now there's a whole industry of people out there selling the service of vetting.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's going to get in a loop right there.
Mm-hmm.
But as the larger organizations demand accountability from their third parties, that will filter down because a lot of smaller companies, contract services to large organizations. So we're going to see a lot of that. And a big gaping hole is software vendors.
Yeah. Trust me. I'm going around with one vendor right now. All I asked was, I need your policy on media disposal. Dude, it's been 3 weeks. And I have talked to 3 different people and nobody seems to know anything about it.
See, now isn't that something?
And this is not a small vendor, and it is a very, very well-known IT vendor. Yeah, I'm like, dude, I just wanted your policy.
Yeah.
I mean, just the simplest of questions you can't get good answers for. And it's either they don't have the policy or their people don't know about the policy. Either way, it's scary.
Yeah. Somebody checked a box somewhere and put it on a shelf, and no one's ever seen it since.
Yeah. It's like when you ask questions about stuff like that, it's like, well, let me get you in touch with our legal counsel. I'm like, legal counsel? I just need your policy.
Yeah. I just want to see it.
Yeah. I mean, do you not know there's one there?
I don't need the procedure. I just want the policy.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. So, and I, the software vendors, their problem is their attacks. They're going in and attacking the vendor that then the change is distributed to all of their clients. So now we're looking at another massive scenario where there's backdoors and they're distributing things through these systems. And there's a term in software companies called SecDevOps.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to become a bigger thing. the PCI groups came out this past year with a security framework for software development security.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to, that's one of the first ones that I've seen that seems to be directing it towards, because it's matching PCI requirements. So that third party thing, is not going to get better, and it's not just going to be about ransomware. It's going to be about data breaches. It's going to be about systems being down and those kind of things.
Yep.
All right, and then we get to number 8.
Yes. Number 8, our final one. And this is, to me, I'm like, no brainer here. And that's,
this one's one I hope comes to fruition.
Yeah. And that, we hope that companies will finally start to understand that just because you know how to set up a computer or a computer network does not mean you understand how to secure it or what HIPAA requires.
No.
You and I both see this day in and day out, but people don't understand that. And the speed of cybersecurity and the speed of security threats is moving faster than the knowledge of what these IT companies have on staff.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not baked in like yours is. I mean, you sat down a couple of years ago and said, this is where things are going. I'm going to bake security into everything we do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and we're just now, like literally just now, 2 years into it, having people wanting to have the security conversation. Whereas before it was like, hey, dude, I just want you to fix my printer.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to get to the internet. And
I totally get it.
Yeah.
When
what about
I used
security?
to try to get people to worry about, HIPAA really doing HIPAA, they're like, we always joked in 2013, they'd swing wide around our booth at the expo. Now there's a party in our booth.
Yeah.
But it's the MSPs out there, the problem that we're talking about. They need to understand they should be securing their network too.
Yeah.
Eat your broccoli.
Yeah.
That's it.
A lot of them they don't understand it. They outsource as much of that as they can, and they don't understand it enough to even protect themselves, much less protect their clients. They think it's security in a box. As long as they sell the box.
HIPAA in a box, security in a box. We'll just sell a box, put it in.
Right.
All's good.
Yeah. And we've seen that with HIPAA. Hey, if I put them in a HIPAA compliant backup, then they're HIPAA compliant. And so am I. Mm-hmm. No.
Plus the ones that are particularly the smaller ones that they know how to go in and put in a flat network.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And when we say flat network, we mean everybody talks to everybody, it was great. And it's fine in a, one or two computer, that would make sense. Although zero trust is where we're going, but I get it. But even at my house, there are 4 different networks that talk to each other. I allow them to talk to each other in certain ways. That segmentation that's what we call it, segmentation, but think of it as there's different networks so the computers can't get to each other unless it's a very specific allowed traffic.
Yeah. And from a business owner standpoint, oftentimes they just say, my stuff works, so there's no problem. Mm-hmm. I'm able to get to the internet. I'm able to print. I'm able to do all these. Mm-hmm. Every function I need to do in my business is working. So why is there a problem?
That's kind of like, I ate those eggs. They didn't taste bad, but I still gave me. There was no problem going down.
Yeah. But that's some of the big issues that we run into is we come in and go, dude, you got some massive issues. And you're like, what do you mean? Everything works fine.
Yeah.
No.
For you and the criminals who are using it.
Yeah. So it's a hard conversation to have a lot of times because they don't realize that just because things are running along smoothly, that there's problems. It's kind of not really like when you get in your car and you fire it up and like, oh, everything sounds great. Mm-hmm. Well, it's probably because it is great, but it's not really the case in IT.
Yeah. So it requires an understanding, and large corporations, they have different departments. There's a security department, and then there's IT. They're not the same.
No.
But everybody assumes that they are. So most of your managed service people would work in IT,
mm-hmm.
but not in the security department.
Yeah. And that gap's getting wider too.
Yeah. And it's getting harder and harder to fill. But this is a broad problem. It's not just the technology people. It's also the consultants who you have consultants who understand the law. They understand the privacy part of it. And then they'll come in and they'll say, well, you need to talk to your IT vendor about these things. Well, we just told you your IT vendor probably doesn't know everything they're supposed to know, but the consultants are putting that assumption into your head, and then it's on you that you've got to figure out your IT vendors don't know it. And the certified HIPAA stuff and all of that, companies have got to learn to vet their people down to don't assume just because I say I know it that I really do.
Yeah. Well, the problem is they don't even know what to ask to see
Exactly.
if they're doing the right thing. I mean,
we know the one question. Do you listen to Help Me With It?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to several companies that come in and help with the operational aspect of healthcare, independent healthcare providers. So they're bringing in staff and they're doing billing and they're doing operations and they're bringing in third-party vendors. And I say something like, well, what does your business associate due diligence look like? And they're like, what?
Mhm.
Like, well, are you not vetting these people that you're bringing into? No. I mean, yeah, we make sure that they have a business license.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's, oh man, just a lot of bad stuff happening. But if you don't know, then you don't know.
Yeah. And it's taking the time to, it's like the client I had that said, well, when we were dating, I put you up in a better place and I asked you a lot of questions, but once we were married, I didn't have to worry about those things anymore. You're staying at a cheaper hotel. But, it's just one of those things where you're in that sales cycle, in that choosing cycle, you need to be asking the questions. And if you haven't asked them, start asking them. And don't just say, do you do HIPAA?
Yeah. And I would ask them of the big companies because I see tons of MSPs that aren't asking questions of their downstream vendors.
Yeah.
We've
just gone through that in our BAA rants. So.
I know it's not happening because I get pushback from these vendors like, oh, there are thousands of MSPs that have signed our BAA. It can't possibly be incorrect. And I'm like, I don't care about your thousands of other incorrect signatures that you've got on your crappy BAA.
David is the princess and the pea. He's just
I mean, it's one thing when you can get, you're arguing about what's the meaning of thee. I can get that. But when it's like, you don't even have the signatures right.
Yeah. The contract doesn't even identify our roles in this relationship properly.
Exactly. That's kind of a big deal.
It's a pretty core thing, when it comes down to it. All right. So this one ran long, but, we're just to recap, we've got David's AI and deep fakes going to be a problem. The 5G thing. We're going to see a lot of big enforcement that hopefully is going to start turning the tide. Changes in authentication methods. We're going to see a lot of new things being tested. And no, it doesn't mean you have to use it forever, but you need to get used to the fact that security is not convenient.
Mm-hmm.
If that's your problem, you need to get over it. That's all I can say. You got to get over it. We expect these IoTs, the listening devices and the voice devices and all of that kind of stuff. There's going to be a data breach from one, like in healthcare. I see it coming. I hear too much about them. Ransomware, massive problems at all levels, including dealing with your MSPs, your downstreams, your software vendors, all of that third-party stuff. They're going to be the source of your breach because you just outsourced it and then made a lot of assumptions. Get in line.
Yeah. Yes. You're outsourcing your security to the MSP who is outsourcing your security to somebody else.
Or not.
Yeah, or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is gets us to the eighth one, which we just covered, was finally we're going to start seeing the turn for people understanding when these horrible things happen. The person that told me I was okay might not know what they're doing. And it's not a malicious thing. They don't know that they don't know.
Yeah. Well, there needs to be more two-way communication where you're asking your vendors, what are you doing for me and what are you not doing for me? And the other side of it is the vendors need to be talking to their clients and say, this is what we're doing and not doing for you.
Yeah. I've been a proponent from the get-go, if you will recall, of completing your own due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I've recently been working with some companies where we write a white paper that they can give. I mean, not one they publish, publicly, but they can give to their upstream, downstream business partners, wherever they got to go, that says, here's what we do. Here's the details of our program that we'd expect you would want to know about. And then downstream, you say, this is our program. We expect you to hold up to the same standards. It's got to be done. Mm-hmm. We have got to get there and companies are like, why should I do that? I hired you. Well, you sat and negotiated a price, didn't you? You got a list of services, didn't you? You didn't just say, hey, random dude on the street, you do IT, here's $1,000 a month. Come do my IT. It's just another layer that has to be done.
Yep.
And once you do it, you just periodically follow up and go, hey, you still good at that stuff? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So there we go. There's our stake in the ground. We're going to see that turn. We're going to see the turn.
We hope.
We're going to see the change we want to be. We've already been being the change. We got to see it.
Yeah. All righty. That is our show for today, folks. Thanks for listening. Remember to follow us and share us out. Remember your task today. Share us out, one person, and go and donate. Rate us on your podcasting app, whatever it is you're listening to us at. Help us spread the word. And remember that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.